All right, if you stayed this long, I think this is the final video on this. Remember, I couldn't get this station, WEEU, found resistors that were off, wrong ones, changed that, found out the calibration was wrong on the radio. Somebody had gone in there with their fat fingers. So anyway, I know the audio is not going to work right. It's going to overload. Not on the radio, but on my Windows, on my camera. All right, here we go.
They are limited to
All right, that's what we used to have. Okay, that's how much audio we have now. All right, let me unplug this. I don't trust this radio not to go on fire while I'm doing a video. All right, what I want to show you is this looks like a normal stereo jack, right, on this radio, and it's not. Here's a stereo jack. All right, it doesn't go in. It takes a jack that looks just like a stereo jack, but try to get one. So I took out the jack and I put in a more modern one. All right, which here I'll show you. This jack goes into a modern one. All right, so there's always naysayers out there. Now I want to warn you: if you get one of these radios, even if it's never been used for 80 years, all the capacitors, the metal ones with the can, are going to be bad. They're oil, but oil. I don't think oil is the dielectric. I think it's just to keep the moisture out of the paper. So these capacitors are paper capacitors mounted in oil or submerged in oil, and it doesn't help them. And after 80 years, they go bad. Now the black ones that look like licorice, the micro molds, they're all bad. The point ones, they're all leaky. You have to change those. Some of the resistors, I have some of the resistors here. I saved some. The value of the resistor and the colors don't make any sense at all. That looks like orange gray. This reads 85K. All right, it doesn't make any sense. And the other one's even a different color, even though it's the same resistor. So it's possible when they put this thing together, they did use what they had, and it didn't work out. And this radio has been sitting off to the side. New old stock doesn't work right. I went through it, got it working, and I showed you all the different sections, what's inside. I gave you what I honestly thought no one else gave you. We have the guy with the bow tie, and they sit there and they have a brand new unit, and they tell you the specs and all. That's not what I'm doing. And also Shango yesterday, he basically said the same thing. He redid a video or something, and he said that he didn't have makeup and all this other stuff. He was taking a jab at his competitors also. And I don't have competitors per se. It's just that I don't like when someone puts a lot of work into doing nothing. And that's what they do. They don't understand how the radio works. They're not going to take it apart and get dirty. And I bought this just to understand that two-tube front end. I wanted to see if both tubes stay on, and they do. And it does make this radio a DX rig. But it's got so many tubes, it draws so much current. I don't know if you'd want to use one of these to DX AM. And the elephant in the room is there's nothing really on AM that you really want to listen to other than DXing to see how far away you can pick up something, trying different aerials and stuff like that. But, I also want to tell you, now that I went to the second audio, and it's louder now, instead of coming out of the headphone jack and going to a transformer, I came out of the next jack, which I had to change. I showed you that. And it's louder. But if you keep reading, you'll notice it's 250 ohm impedance for the speaker. I'm going to tell you what they mean by a speaker is a speaker that has a matching transformer in the box with it. And I found the speaker, a whole website on them. They're speakers with matching transformers. And I tell you, I just use a filament transformer in backwards. The high side, which normally goes to the 110, goes out to the radio, and the low side, which would heat the filament, goes to the speaker. That's how I do it. It's just easier. You can buy multi-tap transformers and put one of those in your box. You can make a. I showed you my box. In other words, you can make a box with selector switches on it. You can get really into this thing. But I bought the radio to stay busy, to help me sleep at night, but it didn't do any of that. And while I touched this thing, a bunch of people I know died. The fence in my backyard blew over, and it's not a little fence. It's a wooden fence. The post broke. I had to dig the ground out and get the cement part out, and then I was salvaging pieces, and I have to cut it up and put it out for garbage a little at a time. So I had to take it all apart. Well, now I have it all apart. I'm ready to go with the new wood. Well, it snowed. The ground is frozen. That's just how everything's been going. And this radio, right up until I was doing this video, the ground lead it wasn't making contact. Let's see if you see it over in the distance here. Over in this ground lead over here. Let's see if we're in the frame. This lead goes into the ground of the outlet. All right, that became crackling and stuff when I was doing it. And then I also mentioned yesterday's video how whenever Windows is loading, updating, it triggers Norton. So the two of them, and also Foxfire. The three of them have a battle all day long. So whenever I do a video, I can get slow audio. And then when I mention that video, the beginning of that video, there's a section where it goes slow. And then somebody asked me what that was, and so I know they didn't watch the video to the end. And then this other guy says, I really need a new computer. Well, I'm not buying a new computer because it does everything I need to do except YouTube videos. And I don't really care for those kind of comments. Maybe you have the money to buy a new computer and screw around with Windows 11. I've had enough annoyance playing with Windows 10. One night they just decided to take my editing program out of my computer and then offer me a new one. I learned that other program. It took a while. I don't have time to keep learning new programs to do the same thing I was doing. I'm tired of that. That's insanity. Okay? That's how I feel. And they go, well, it's part of the deal. No, it isn't. I don't have to do videos about radios. I can leave it up to the big mouths. They make comments, like your audio's no good, your videos. Let's see your videos. Let's see them. I'm tired of these guys. 50% of people in the world are assholes. All right? And then there's other levels of percentages of people that are assholes of a different kind. And they think you're going to do this or that because they say so. Well, I don't get paid for this. I didn't monetize. Also, YouTube wants to loan my videos out to a third party now. That's the latest thing they want to do. Well, these guys like your videos, and they want to use certain sections of it for them. But yeah, take my hard work, and put your voice over what I've done. Here we go. See, you can't. What's happening to me is I'm getting screwed from so many sources at the same time. You call up about the fence and the insurance company. It's got to be over $1,000, and then whatever it's over, we're going to determine how old the fence is. But so basically, they're going to be fill out all these forms and not give me anything. So then I call fence companies up, and they said, well, where did the fence come from? I said, well, I bought the house. It was put in by Home Depot. And they laughed. They said, we don't even touch those fences. They do come out and repair fences, but not a Home Depot fence. So I end up having to do it myself. I really don't want to do it myself. But that's all the stuff that's been going on while I've been working with this radio. And then the other thing I had was this girl dies, and I knew her from church group. I knew her when she first moved from Pennsylvania. So I mentioned it to this other guy that went on a date with her or whatever. And then I mentioned his other friend that he has beat me up really bad on church ground on a Sunday, and he didn't believe me. He says I had a different person, and I never forget that guy. All right, and over the years he mentions him as his best friend. I'm one of his best friends, and that's what happened. that happened in the middle. This radio has like been like I won't say a jinx, but everything around my life while I've been working on this has been awful. It's just plain awful. And the amount of people that died since I started working on this radio is astronomical. I mean, a lot of them owed me money, and yes, I did dance. This one guy, well, I won't go into that. I think I might have told you once before, but yeah, I'm not getting a new video camera. I'm not getting a new computer just to do videos that I don't make any money. I use what I have, and you know, I've gone into the hardest radios, and I told you there are websites where guys took these things apart, repainted them, and I noticed this has been sitting open because I could tell by what a new old sock on the internet looks like and what the inside of this thing looks like, or it was near an area where somebody did some heavy smoking. But what makes this radio really hard to work on is they sprayed it with this antifungal stuff. So you put your meter in two places and you can't get a reading. You have to dig through in both places and double check and triple check, and it's not easy. It's easy, but it's frustrating. So now I got it to where I have the high audio. I did the Zoomer radio from Canada. I've been checking all those stations that are hard to get. This radio gets it now. With redoing the alignment, someone screwed all the screws in, or the slugs. Let's call them slugs on the IF cans. On the two IF cans, they screwed them all the way in. And as soon as I started backing them out, I told you I took a signal generator, put it into a frequency counter so I could do a 92.5 kilohertz for the IFs. Once I did the IFs, made sure they were in. I put the oscillator by using the trick. You put the dial on the frequency, and then you add 92.5 to the frequency, and that's where you should pick it up on a radio when you put it near the radio. That's a trick. And then you adjust your oscillator, and that's the alignment. That's how I do my alignments. I don't have real big test equipment. You know, I don't have a wall of test equipment behind me in my chair and sit there with my bow tie on. That's what I mean. People make comments about me. Well, I'll leave you with the bow tie guy. I'll leave you with the guys that show you the thing, what it looks like brand new. It hasn't been opened, hasn't seen power. And they sit there and they regurgitate the specs that they read. And yeah, I do misspeak. The other day I said parallel instead of series. See, in my head, I'm saying series, but what's coming out is parallel. And that's old age. Some of it's just, I'm not the brightest bulb in the string. I'm real good in electronics, only because I stay with something. I make mistakes, but I stay with it until it's done. Where other people would have given up by now. They make an excuse, they put the thing away, and they say they're going to get to it, and then after they die, it goes in the dumpster. I knew those people. They gave the stuff to me, even though they were engineers, electronic guys. I went to the same schools I went to. They'd hand the thing to me to fix. I know who I am, and I don't have a lot of social skills because I used to hide in radios. While all the kids would worry about going to a dance, I'd be down in the cellar tinkering with some old radio I pulled out of the garbage. And over the years, I become more social with people. I can walk up to a stranger. That's one of my hobbies. I go for a long walk. I'll walk up to a stranger. I can start a conversation. I know enough about the area, enough about all different subjects. When that person tells me what they do for a living, I know what they do for a living. The one guy, what the hell was he? He was a compliance officer. And then he's like, you know what? I said, yeah, at work, you make sure you have enough bathrooms, handicap things for the handicap. And I'm going like, he goes, you're the first person. Yeah, I'm the first person that knows what a compliance officer does. Enough for fire extinguishers. You got to make sure the company is up to its standards by different laws. And he's like, you know what? I said, yes, I know. I met several compliance officers in this area. Because mostly here, if they have a good job, it's that kind of work. They don't get their hands dirty anymore. I never found one guy that ever worked on a radio since I've been here. I met 2 or 3 people that worked on CNC. One kid on my block here, I used to explain to him when I was younger. I was building and designing CNC machines, and he didn't. He just his eyes would just glaze over. Well, now he's working on them, and I kind of remind him. He goes, "Yeah, it's pretty funny that he ended up going into a field. I thought he was going to go to college. He went to a tech school, but it's amazing. Life is just amazing. But this thing was really hard. It's got so many things wrong with it because it's just been sitting so long, and all the parts go bad. But I stay with it. You know, I got it working as a resurrection, and then I start thinking, where are those stations? It's not picking them up, and then and I'm trying to tell you, that's the hardest thing when you got a radio working, and you can't get the sensitivity is low. You know, where do you start? You have no references. They don't say put a certain amount of signal at the antenna, and then measure here, here, and here. Now they sort of do. I did find something sort of like that later on working on this, but I don't have that type of test equipment. But I never ran into a radio where after you change all the capacitors, the sensitivity is bad. And it turned out to be resistors that are in the wrong values. And then some resistors just change values. But you know, here it is. You know, I stay with it. Now I have to put all the covers back on, and you know, all the hardware back on it. And there's a lot of hardware to get this thing apart. Put that all back, and then put it in the room on the shelf with the rest of the radios. And then pick my favorite radio. That's what I do. I bring my favorite radio out here when I want a DX. But you know, as far as the people that say, you know, you got to get a new computer, I'm not getting nothing new. All right, I got a track phone, and when I went to AT&T in there, I said, you know, the guys, I said, I can't confirm the order with my track phone because it won't let me do that. I had to come home and go on the internet and to turn it on, but I had no internet. That was the whole point. I told them, I said, I have no internet, but I called my neighbor across the street, and he owed me a million favors, and he gave me his password, and I was able to go through the air with one of my modules and hit his Wi-Fi and go on and finish the purchase order on AT&T. The guys at the store didn't understand. You know, I have to work. I'm at a level where I walk in, I know just where the problems are going to be, and they look at me, oh, that won't be a problem, and it does turn out to be a problem. And then the kid gets his manager, and the manager's a little bit smarter, but that's who I am. I stay up with stuff. You know, I know my computer's old, but when Windows is done updating and Norton isn't playing games, you know, trying to sell me something, you know, they have pop-up ads, and I'm on the internet with this box all the time. I can't disconnect from the internet as easily as I used to. I used to be able to throw a switch. But I know when Windows is updating me, and it's right in the middle of when I'm doing something, and it messes the computer up. And then Foxfire seems to lock up a lot lately. It's crashing. And it's because I have an old computer, and Foxfire is getting bigger and bigger. I understand all that. I'm an electronic technician. I was into computers for years, and I would tell people, you need a new computer. It's too slow. It's old. Well, they told me I could always update it. I used to put up with that all the time with people. They were told when they were sold to them 5 years before. I said, look, a computer ages 10 years every 6 months. And they're looking at me like, you're crazy. No, I'm not crazy. They want you to keep going along and buying stuff. And I'm tired of that. You know, I was changing modems every 3 months when I had the bulletin board system. See, I ran a bulletin board system. I had an Echo Mail system. I was the main hub. This stuff you only read about, I've done. You know, I've got stuff published. I've done it all. That's because this is my thing, electronics. I hid from the world. I know I hid from the world. I know people that worked on cars and hid from the world. Because when you're working on the car, you have the problems of you in the car, and that's it. You don't have the problems of the world because you're ignoring all that. But it all comes down, and it does fall on you eventually. But I just want to tell you, I basically finished. And when they say speaker, I'm pretty sure they mean one with a transformer in it. You know, you got to. And I'm talking to maybe 2 people in the next 10 years that are going to work on this and finish it. 2. All right. The rest are dreamers. make-believe people. Oh, I got one. It's in really good shape. I mean, you're not going to get to it. You're the guy that drags new cars home every week, and he stands there. Oh, this one's got that. I'm going to get, and you look over his shoulder, and you got to see like 20, 30 automobiles that he did the video with, and they're sitting there. And the prices for the parts are astronomical. And just to pick one car and stay on it is boring. After a while, you're going to, it's just another car. That's right. It's just another car. The joy of bringing the car home and thinking, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. That's the excitement. The reality is when the work sets in, it's no fun. It's work. And I understand that. That was a big breakthrough for me and other guys. And they would constantly tell me what car they were going to buy. They never bought the car. And I walked with this one kid, and he was going to get a Mustang as soon as he started driving. He never got a Mustang in his entire life. But I listened to it. I walked to school with him for maybe 2 years, and I couldn't take it anymore. That's all he wanted to talk about was that Mustang, which he never got. I got a Nova. It was in pretty good shape. I did a lot of work on it. I bought all the tools, and my friends were always telling me they were going to get this car. They never got those cars. I could tell you a million stories. It all has to do with how much money you have and how much ambition you have. And to be successful in life, you have to be able to read, and you have to have self discipline. You know, you can't keep flitting from one thing to another. My sister used to do that. My mother used to call her a butterfly. She'd start a project, like she'd start painting her kitchen in her house, and then she'd get bored. So she'd call me up. I'd come over and finish it. My father, when he got older, would have me finish his stuff, his projects that he was working on. And a lot of people in my life, they would say, I'm kind of tired of this. Can you finish it? Can you fix this? They give me something that's broke. I fix it, then they want it back. I've gone through it all, man. It's been a rough life. And then, like I said, when that fence blew over, you know, I have 2 hernias. I had to dig. You had to see me digging a hole to dig out that big piece of cement that holds the beam or the post. That's the real word. But in other words, I didn't think they even used cement on that thing. They used a big glob, and it was funny. I went on YouTube and saw the guy says, "No, just dig a ditch in front of the post in one direction, and then get your shovel behind it," and that's worked. I tried all the stupid ideas there. They show a guy who uses a winch, and it works so good, my kid can do it. Meanwhile, he's making a giant project out of it. I see this guy's thing. I dig in front of it. I put the shovel behind it. I lean on it. If the post tilts over. Now I have no post. It's broken off in the cement. And now I have to lift it out there with 2 hernias. And I kind of rolled it up onto a shovel. It was a major operation because I'm too old. Now I'm 72 and I can walk for 6 hours, but bending over and getting back up, that's another thing. But I just want to tell you, you know, I can close this thing up now, put all the hardware back on, and put it in the other room in the pile. You know, and a lot of these manuals for this thing, they talk too much about safety, destroying it when the government, if it gets the enemy, to keep the enemy from getting it, and then the dynamotor. A lot of time given to the dynamotor, and there are manuals. If you keep really looking, same part number, you'll find one that actually has the alignment. I think I gave you the number of that one. That was hard to find. And like I said, when you want it, if you have a signal generator and a frequency counter, set the generator to what is it? 95.2? No, 92.5 kilohertz, not megahertz, kilohertz. All right, that's really it for this thing. What a nightmare! I think that's it. All right, that's finally it.